We all know the extraordinary sacrifice that Australians made during the Great War. From a population of just over 4 million, more than 400,000 volunteered. More than 300,000 served overseas. 155,000 were wounded, 62,000 never returned. Tens of thousands carried the unseen scars of war for the rest of their lives.
They went to the Great Synagogue all the time. They attended services there. He joined up straight away. He was in the 1st Battalion and he was number 958, so he was in that first 1,000 that turned up at Randwick to English. They did initial training in Sydney around Paddington and Kensington. Of course, they were going to Egypt. They actually set up camp in the shadow of the pyramids. He climbed the pyramids, as most did, and they could go inside one of the pyramids and into the King's Chamber. I think many of them thought it was going to be a big adventure, and then, of course, the reality of facing all those bullets and people dying all around them must have been a really incredible coming of age. Next stage was the landing at Gallipoli on what they called eventually Anzac Cove. The Turks were throwing bombs at the Australians. Being a bit of a cricketer, in fact a very good cricketer, he started catching these bombs and throwing them back at the Turks. He always said everybody deserved the Victoria Cross, I just happened to be noticed. A group of Russians were visiting the Australian base. They'd all heard about Kaiser and his exploits, and they went up to see him. And they couldn't believe it. They said he was so puny, and then they said, and you're a Jew. They couldn't believe it. They were fascinated, I think, more than disappointed that such a man could be such a hero. And he said, proud as I am of my VC, I am even more proud to belong to the Australian Army and prouder still of being a Jew.
His is an utterly remarkable story, and your heart should swell with pride with his deeds. He was actually born in London in 1985. He moved to Canada after finishing school, emigrated to Australia about 3 months after the First World War began. He enlisted just a couple of weeks after war was declared, and he was indeed those first landings in April 1915. His actions, which led to his VC, were as remarkable then as they are today. I don't think we can understand the bravery that must have been involved in his actions. He was physically exhausted after 50 hours of returning or smothering these bombs. He then went on to the Western Front and he lived out the rest of his days in London. And we owe Corporal Kaiser and all those from the Jewish community who served in the defence of our nation an enduring and enormous debt of gratitude.
On the 7th of August 1915, Kaiser was in a trench which was being heavily bombed by the enemy. At great personal risk, he picked up 2 live bombs and threw them back at the enemy. Though wounded, he continued throwing bombs, thereby saving a most important portion of the trench. Next day, he bombed the enemy out of a position from which temporary mastery of his own trench had been obtained. Although again wounded, he declined evacuation, volunteering to throw bombs for another company which had lost all its bomb throwers. He continued to bomb the enemy until the situation was relieved. That Victoria Cross was won for exceptional bravery at the Battle of Lone Pine, perhaps the bloodiest day in our military history.
nation in distress.